Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome the star, the legend, the king and the queen, and everybody from the Umukwata ascendancy here this morning, because one of your truly distinguished Umukatarian is here in the frame and the image of the self-appointed chief, like I said, to the king of Umukwata. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome OjyOkpe the queen of Umukwata.
What a legendary introduction, Rufai.
Let's get ready to
You know how to ginger this
rumble.
thing. All right, let's do it. So it's not chief, it's king of Umukwata now, though there is a king. You call the okay, man.
To welcome
morning,
their own
Rufy
chief
on
is here.
Fire. Thank you. How are you? How's your trip back to Lagos? Fantastic. We're happy to have you back. That's all we know. Good morning, our favorite Naija wife.
Morning, Junix. How are you? Looking stunning in royal blue.
Very much. Good morning,
the chief.
Good morning, Adefemi and Fire. We're having too much fun.
Always.
How is your morning so far?
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Great.
Well, all right. Well, good morning to you, viewers. Let's begin what's trending. As reactions follow President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's visit to Benue State to commiserate with and assess the situation of victims from the deadly attack in the Yelewata community. Well, upon his arrival at the Tactical Air Command of the Nigerian Air Force Base in Makurdi, the president, accompanied by Governor Hyacinth Alia and other government officials, proceeded directly to the Benue State Teaching Hospital to meet with injured victims, including adults and children suffering from gunshot wounds, burns, and trauma. The president was received by mourners adorned in black. Let's take a look.
On Saturday, we had 54 cases. Out of the 5
Absolutely commend the president for this visit. I mean, it was great to see the president out there meeting with children, burn victims, mothers, fathers, people that have suffered this deadly attack. I'll take a tweet from X. This person wrote, "Dear Mr. President, we deeply appreciate this initiative. Kindly replicate similar impactful actions across other states. In the Federation, it will go a long way to fostering national growth and unity. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria." Adefemi Akinsoya. I mean, earlier in the day, we did discuss, I believe it was even yesterday, we did discuss the one memo that was sent out, yes. And we had, ahead of the president's visit, and we had warned against some sort of, fanfare, and it's good to see that it wasn't the case. Right. But we did see that lineup of people adorned in black. Yes. What were your thoughts on that?
So I think the symbolism is commendable because, as the discussion was yesterday, when we saw the circular of people wearing bright colors, I think
people not wearing
that were called to wear.
That were called to wear
bright colors. As we said, as we discussed, it was in poor taste because I think it took away from the seriousness of the visit, right, and the reason for the visit. So on its face, to see people lining the streets in black mourning, on its face is commendable because it highlights what the actual issue is. However, during the newspaper review, we looked at the actual snapshots of people and you can see anguish and it looked genuine. I'm not saying that it's not genuine. This felt a little performative. And I think that sometimes it can do a disservice and make it seem as though what we are discussing is something that should be dramatized and it's already serious enough. That being said, I am glad that this visit has served the purpose that it needed to serve. It got the president's attention there. And not only was he able to see victims in their bed, be able to understand the gravity of what's happening, because someone can tell you it's completely different from you being able to see it with your own eyes and experience it. Just like Rufai was saying, if people are complaining about the roads in Benue being bad, yes, we can imagine what it feels like to drive on bad roads, but for the president to actually come in and have his trip impacted because he couldn't enter Yelewata because of the weather, because of the state of the roads, it just shows that all round the president's visit served the purpose that it needed to serve. And I am glad that the people got to have their voices heard.
I like that point you made, Adefemi. And I would like to actually pull up the picture of the day, if we can pull that up. And this picture has gone viral. It's showing an elderly woman in visible distress as President Tinubu was in that hospital there. I mean, that picture spoke 1,000 words, Rufai. That picture really did speak of the anguish these people are facing in Benue State. Young children. Those videos really disturbed me. Meanwhile, hours before the president's scheduled visit to Benue, the Lafia-Makurdi highway, a crucial link to the state capital, became impassable due to severe flooding. Heavy rainfall caused the road to be submerged, leaving commuters and members of the presidential advance team stranded. As you can see there, the disruption raised concerns about the logistics and security of the president's visit. In the same vein, videos showing primary school pupils standing in the rain to welcome President Tinubu's convoy have sparked widespread outrage. Despite a public holiday declared by the state government to honor the president's visit, primarily to sympathize with victims of the deadly attacks in the state, the children were seen singing the national anthem by the roadside as Tinubu's motorcade passed through Makurdi. Their faces were blurred in the videos for privacy. The videos went viral on social media, drawing strong condemnation from Nigerians. Critics, including Yemi Adamalekun, Executive Director of Enough is Enough Nigeria, called it a crime to subject children to such conditions. Let's take Yemi's tweet. There she wrote on X, "This is a crime. Is there no one in Benue that can go and get those children? A bishop, an imam, parents, National Human Rights Commission? What is wrong with us? Hashtag Benue Lives Matter." OjyOkpe followed with a tweet. She wrote, "The saddest part is that some of these children may be from among the hundreds of families mourning their beloved ones, and yet are compelled to stand in the rain and give misleaders that have shown zero care for them a rousing welcome. Things like this are why the uncaring political class of Nigeria has nothing to desensitize their bad behavior and the poor governance it produces. They believe the Nigerian citizens are conquered souls. Will it always be so? No, because there is that one factor that our politicians never add to the equation when they become carried away with and drunk on public power." I mean, OjyOkpe there, it's just also buttresses the sort of conversation that we tried to have yesterday about reading the room. How, Nigerian politicians have to really find ways to observe these sort of critical situations. When you have mourning in a state, how dare you put children out there to welcome the president? Rufai.
You can't give what you don't have. You telling a Nigerian politician to read the room in a time of disaster that he couldn't avert is like telling a palm wine tapper that he doesn't know how to tap palm wine. The truth is, you cannot give what you don't have. These palm wine tappers or these politicians only care about themselves. and I'm using that palm wine tapper in the context of an analogy. These journeymen called politicians only care about themselves and their own image. When we said it yesterday, it was based on reports that we got. We're proven right. Even if they tried to still change the narrative last minute by putting mourners on the road, and Femi, I mean, you saw it now. It looked very choreographed. You know why? Because the same true mourners, when the same true mourners came out to protest those killings, what did they do? They tear gas them. Did we see it here the other day?
For what reason?
So they should have allowed the true protesters to come out and exercise their pain. But no, they put these ones on the side of the road, make them wear back, and decide they should be wailing, so that it was going to be a contravention of what they had initially planned. But they were not circumspect in their review. They still left the plan of the students there. They forgot that one. So they left the students in the rain, singing national anthem and were waving flag.
And the motorcade didn't stop and acknowledge them.
But quickly, what they now did was last minute, they now quickly put some placards in the house of students that Benue is bleeding. So it was part of their choreographic plan.
Absolute
but
nonsense, like
they didn't even know how to backtrack. And this is part of the problem we talk about. So reading the room is not their forte. That's why I give the analogy of a palm wine tapper. It's not like you telling palm wine tapper. He's telling the Nigerian politicians that read the room. It's not like you telling like a palm wine tapper, he doesn't know how to tap palm wine. Because reading the room is not part of their forte. Emotional intelligence is not part of their forte. If emotional intelligence was part of their forte, do you think Nigerian politicians will be spending extravagantly in a country where people can't have 3 square meals? Where people are suffering.
Wasn't it a public holiday? What were the students?
So it was part of the arrangement.
A public
so
holiday.
that at the same time,
be...
they have forgotten that it was a money situation that brought the president. But at the same time, they also want to impress the president and give him a heroic welcome. So they were caught in a quandary. And that's why, there's a dearth of emotional intelligence. Going further, these were the things we said yesterday. Don't turn it into a jamboree and everything. People said, we were bashing them and everything. Has it not come out openly now? Do you know that the rights of those children were violated?
Yes.
Do you know that they should even press charges against whoever called those children out in the first place? And that picture speaks a million words.
Picture of the day.
So let me interpret what that woman's face was saying. They've come again and our problem continues. That's the smirk on her face. Oji is not, I feel particular about Benue. It's not today I've been working with Benue. And I'm happy that the advanced party was caught in that flood. In 2016, thereabouts, I think I even got a recognition by CESO Foundation about my work I did for flood victims with Benue, where we partnered with a Catholic church in 2004, where I was using my radio platform to advocate that people drop relief materials for flood victims in Benue. Benue had always had flooding. And that's why we are happy President Tinubu went out. So he's seeing it. He should also go to Niger. Because I would like President Tinubu to see the condition of the roads in Mokwa. He should also go to any part that is being inundated with crisis in the country. It will give him a clear view. You see, all the visits he goes that the governor calls him, 1 or 2 days, become a commissioner. That's good. But on the other side, unannounced visit like this will give you a true perspective on what is going on in the country. Because with that already choreographed visit, you would think everything is fine. The governor will show you the happy parts and the other, but he also needs to see the parts that are not happy.
Following his hospital visit, President Tinubu met with stakeholders at the new banquet hall of the Benue State Government House. During the meeting, President Tinubu stated that the value of human life is greater than that of a cow. He also publicly questioned the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, about the lack of arrests in connection with the incident. Let's take a look.
The value of life, human life, is greater than that of a cow. And it's only when you open the door for conflict that political enemy will come in. Political enemies, they don't want you to succeed. Have you just realizing that? Governor, I give you the assurance that we will find peace. We will convert this tragedy to prosperity. Police, I hope your men are on alert to listen to information. How come no arrest is being made? I expect there should be arrests of those criminals.
All right, I follow those in the room to applaud the president for asking the pertinent question. Yeah. Why has an arrest not been made? That's the question I asked when this thing happened. Who are these people? Who are the perpetrators? No one's been paraded at this point. We're hearing our brothers and sisters dying every day. Not one arrest, because if there was, the president would know. Vimbai.
And no clues either, no indication of anything. And, you know, often they'll say that, oh, these are security issues, so they can't publicize it. But like you said, if the president is now asking what's going on, it now begs the question, what is really going on the ground? He made several interventions during his speech. Some may regard as controversial. Some received a lot of applause. So one of those interventions, the president spoke about the need for a radio station to preach tolerance, because in his own estimation and based off of the reports he has, he said he feels this is a political problem. He actually used the quote that politics is local, and he was speaking to the governor and saying these are political issues you need to resolve. And you know, there's questions around that, because if you speak to people in Benue, and I know later you'll highlight some of the other speeches that were given on the day that indicate that there are different views about what's going on the ground. So that's why, you know, when we ask for the president or any leader to go to the ground, it's not because we're being noisemakers or we're being busybodies. It's because sometimes the reports that you get, and when you go and experience it for yourself on the ground, the realities may be different. I hope off cameras there was deeper engagement, because what we saw at the stakeholders forum was more, you know, of speeches being given, but we expected to see more of like a town hall and interaction. Yes. So I hope off camera they were able to do that and give their own, especially the royal father of Tiv, the Tor Tiv. Yeah. He had deep information around what's going on, and I continue to say this is not new. Remember the controversy during President Obasanjo's era when he was president around Benue State and the massacre that followed around this area, and it was ethnic driven. It was the Tiv, the Jukun, the Idoma, and various political players around it. So one might also speculate that given the president's speech yesterday around the politics of it, he's insinuating that those political dynamics of that time may not be completely gone, which is why the military can't go in as as aggressively as we would like them to see, because we saw what that led to in 2001. That ended up being a massacre. Who are you fighting? But hopefully yesterday in that engagement, by the time we saw a few hours later, he traveled back to Abuja. I hope in that period some meaningful engagement and valuable information was exchanged that can help the strategy to counter this once and for all.
During the meeting, the Tor Tiv V, His Royal Majesty James Ayashi highlighted the severe nature of the ongoing killings in Benue State. He emphatically stated that the violence in Benue is not merely a farmer-herders clash, but a full-scale genocidal invasion and land-grabbing campaign.
What we are dealing with here in Benue is a calculated, well-planned, full-scale genocidal invasion and land-grabbing campaign by herder terrorists and bandits, which has been on for decades and is worsening every year. Wrong diagnosis will always lead to wrong treatment.
That's exactly what he said. I mean, he is, an indigene, and he has experience, he has information from his clan. And, I think as we continue to highlight the story coming out of Benue State, the collaboration between these communities is, I think, most paramount at the end of the day, really. Again, we'll say kudos to our president for going to visit. I mean, he has shown leadership. Let's head over to Enugu State now to highlight this video. Nursery and primary school pupils of Ugowoye Primary School in Nsukka local government area of the state were left stranded in their classrooms as floodwaters took over the school premises. Let's quickly take a look.
Who know the local government chairman? This is just what Jesus can't speak up. Jesus Christ. Man! Come on, they go to class. See.
Well, this is the aftermath of the flood. I mean, areas like these are very sensitive, especially where our children are learning. Adefemi Akinsoya, I thought it was important to highlight it again for that school and for the state government to look into it, because, I mean, our children deserve to learn in a safe and conducive environment.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we are calling on the state government to do something about that. Children deserve a safe and secure place to be educated, especially in a place like Nsukka, which has such a great reputation for educational prowess.
Absolutely.
So it is quite heartbreaking, really, to see this happening. And then even when the water's dry, I mean, the classrooms are completely obliterated, papers, books, completely destroyed. This is just not good enough for people anywhere in the world.
Absolutely,
not in Nigeria.
really a sad incident. So visual to see at this point. So we do call on the state government to, address this flooding in that school. Should we head over to India now? Vishwash Kumar Ramesh, the British man who was the sole survivor of last week's Air India crash, has helped lay his brother to rest. His brother, AJ, was also on the ill-fated flight, but did not survive. A visibly upset Ramesh was one of the pallbearers who carried his brother's coffin to the crematorium in the town of Diu, with his arm and face still covered in white bandages. Let's take a look. This is such a sad scene. I mean, this video has since gone viral. Vishwash Kumar spent most of the past 5 days in the hospital. I mean, when we saw this lone survivor, as I would call him, we couldn't believe that there would be one survivor. I mean, his story has been, going around social media. The news has been highlighting the dramatic way he escaped the incident. And now he's laid his brother to rest. Really sad incident, Rufai. I'd like for us to just quickly touch on some of the reports that we have learned as to how he survived the crash.
I mean, it's just stuff of miracle.
Yes.
He was just meant to be alive. But I can also understand his pain burying his brother,
Yes.
I mean, like I was just telling you, Femi, I was my own dad's pallbearer, lived a long life. He was sick for a very long while, but you still don't want to lose somebody very dear to you. And God only knows what he's going through his mind. And he's still in recovery himself. But we're also trying to see what will be the reports. I think they've been able to get back some of the flight data recorders.
Yeah, the black box,
and it's going through examination now. Then also, let's also look at safety records of Air India, because I also hear there's another Air India plane I think it had to be grounded for some checks and things like that. So there was a bomb scare. So all of these are happening at the same time, but let us get to the end of the investigation before we say anything. But it's really sad, the human cost.
Yeah.
And he must count himself really lucky,
Yes.
that he survived that. A lot of people don't live to survive that.
Yes.
Probably the only person that I've seen one-on-one that survived the plane crash was Mr. Finney. you know.
Oh, really?
He
He told the story.
He told the story many times. So.
Yeah, 270 people died from this plane crash, Vimbai. And when we first heard the story, there were reports that he jumped off the plane, but eventually reporters have spoken to him, and he was just lucky. He was stuck in one corner of the plane. I don't know if you recall those comments. And then he had to just remove. I think that he was in complete shock when he came out of the plane. And all he was looking for at the time, because he still had his mobile phone in his hand, was his brother. He made a phone call to his family right away, but still in shock. I don't know what we have to attribute this. I believe in God, Vimbai. I believe in God. This is, for me, is a complete miracle. Your thoughts, really?
I think miracle is the way to put it.
Yes.
And Rufai, just like you're saying, when it's not your time, it's not your time.
Yes.
I've attended so many sermons where the pastor will say that, listen, if it's not your time, that plane will crash and you will walk away and you'll be okay. So that same. So to touch on the plane crash that has affected us here directly at Arise on this day. So there was Mr. Emmanuel Afeni, who of course our viewers will remember, and 13 This Day editors who survived that crash. And it's just grace, you know, in that moment that you can't attribute it to anything except for God. If you don't believe in God in a moment like that, I don't know where you place your faith, you know. I don't know how you can hope. But I also I hope that he's getting the right psychological support, because there's something called survivor's guilt as well, which is, why did I make it and somebody who I love so much didn't make it? So for him, as much as we're celebrating his survival, he probably is not celebrating his survival, because he just feels like, well, what's the point? What was the point? But I wish him a speedy recovery, and all those lives that were lost, may they rest in eternal peace. And I hope they can get to the bottom of this and avert a disaster like this from happening ever again anywhere in the world.
Well said, Vimbai. Well said. Wish him speedy recovery. Let's take our story now on the milestone, highlighting Things Fall Apart. Chinua Achebe's enduring classic, Tuesday, June 17th, marked 67 years since its first publication in London in 1958. Things Fall Apart was first published in London by Heinemann. The novel tells the story of Okonkwo, a proud Igbo warrior whose life unravels as British colonial rule and Christian missionaries begin to disrupt traditional society. In the novel, Chinua Achebe captures the deep cultural clash between indigenous African values and Western influence. Achebe published Things Fall Apart at the age of 28 while working at the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation. The novel, translated into over 50 languages with more than 20 million copies sold, follows Okonkwo, a fierce Umuofia leader whose fall mirrors the breakdown of his community amid colonial invasion, rich in Igbo proverbs and traditional structure. The book challenged colonial narratives, offering a bold African perspective at a time when such voices were rare. Chinua Achebe was born in Ogidi, the present-day Anambra State, in 1930. He studied English and history at University College Ibadan. In 2012, Achebe published There Was a Country, a personal history of Biafra. The work reopened the discussion about the Nigerian Civil War. It will be his last publication during his lifetime. Achebe died after a short illness on the 21st of March, 2013, in Boston, United States.
I had never written a novel before. Was it going to be good? Was it going to be successful? I didn't know. But something was pushing me, as it were. That was what I wanted to do, to produce a story about my people, which was unique to them. It's never been done before. A
true legend. Achebe also wrote other acclaimed novels, including No Longer at Ease in 1960, and Arrow of God in 1964, which together form the African trilogy. Things Fall Apart was one of my favorite series to watch. The first time I ever experienced the great legend, Peter Doce. Did you ever watch Things Fall Apart, the actual series itself? I mean, but this man has gifted us a novel, a classic of a lifetime.
Absolutely. I'm so happy to hear the story behind it, because often when you create something, in the process of creation, you have no idea how it's going to be received. Right. Oftentimes when you create anything, whether it's some food, whether it's a news report, you think, okay, this is going to do really well, and perhaps it doesn't. So it is refreshing to hear him say he had no idea how it was going to be received, but he just wanted to do it anyway. Mm-hmm. And when we look at how it was received, it is one of the greatest pieces of African literature of all time, and for it to have come from a Nigerian, it is just something that transcends time. My mother read it when she was in school as well. It's a copy of a book that is in all of our homes, and I think that many Nigerians, many Africans around the world should be proud to hold a copy too.
Really proud.
Speaking of it, Femi, you too, you're a legend. You know, you as an Ijebu man, you created one of the greatest, documentary about our history with your Judeo Festival. That'll be a classic for so many years. So thank you. I mean, he was a man that saw the future. Absolutely. He wrote a book where a lot of people thought that he had known that Nigeria was going to have crisis and the wars and everything. He told the story at an era where things were very difficult. Apart from Things Fall Apart, there were many other people that told stories around that era, the likes of Amos Tutuola, Odegbami, and the likes. And it has morphed into a national treasure, a worldwide treasure. In fact, I think it was voted first 20 of the best books of that last, the last century. That's what Things Fall Apart was voted. It's been translated into many languages. People read it all around the world. And they've turned things, it's a culture. The question I want to ask is, Oji, great series and reruns like Things Fall Apart, why doesn't NTA produce them any longer? NTA and the likes of, Ediro and other top, producers in NTA used to produce all this series, Zebediah and the other thing, and Village Headmaster. NTA was a treasure. But a lot of people don't know that words like Amebo, Gorimapa came from Village Headmaster. They should be able to sell the rights of some of these things. Yes. These are some of the ideas. In fact, I want Ms. Musawa that I met, by the way, she was so kind in Abuja the other day. They should get the rights like this from the NTA, propagate it, sell it it's part of our Nigeria historical history. And these are some of the great ideas that I think that she will implement and she should implement. But this is a treasure. This is a treasure. And see, recently, I was in a program where we celebrated James Joyce's book, Ulysses. In fact, we should have a Things Fall Apart Day, where Nigerian embassies around the world will call other people and they will celebrate Things Fall Apart.
Fantastic.
It's a
Kudos.
set book in
love
Zimbabwe
that.
as well. It's a set book in many African countries. Yes,
so
O-levels.
In fact, we should start by having a Things Fall Apart Day, where readings of Things Fall Apart are held, just like the Irish do with Ulysses of James Joyce.
The legend, Chinua Achebe, has also won numerous awards, really. All we can say is thank you. We'll take our good news report now. Nigeria is celebrating a major cultural victory, the return of 119 Benin bronzes from the Netherlands. It is the largest repatriation since the 1897 British looting of the Benin Kingdom. Well, the artifacts, some dating back to between the 14th and 16th centuries, were officially handed over at the National Museum in Lagos on Tuesday, marking a significant step in global efforts to return looted African heritage. The Dutch Consul General in Lagos, Michael Deeling, said the return reflects the Netherlands' policy on colonial-era restitution and follows detailed research into the artifact's origins. He called it a gesture of goodwill and proof of strong ties between both nations, citing President Tinubu's recent visit to The Hague. In a joint statement, Nigeria's Museum Commission and the Dutch Embassy praised the move as a result of years of collaboration and shared commitment to justice. proper antique. Like you said, I wanted to highlight most of the bronzes that were returned. Vimbai, really quickly, isn't this such a brilliant,
incredible? And I love this because this is a reminder that despite what the world tries to paint Africa as, Africa is not poor. Africa is not the bottom of the world, the third world, the whatever. Because if you read the story of what led to these artifacts being robbed from us, it was because the Kingdom of Benin had actually massacred some of the British troops who were coming without permission of entering the kingdom, just to show you the prowess that the Kingdom of Benin had in terms of even warfare. That's why they had to attack and then rob us, because they knew we were superior in our own way. So let them come home so that we can be reminded that, in fact, well, no matter what the world tries to paint us as, we are respectable, we are excellent, we are creative, we are empowered in our own way, and we shouldn't allow anybody out there to do. They can, whether it's by visa or whether, they can keep their visas. We have so much wealth right here, and it's time for us to celebrate it and embrace it.
I love that. We have so
Lancelot
much wealth.
put together a movie. It's called 1897: The Invasion, on the Benin, the massacre that led to this, and the British coming to steal our material. So Lancelot Imaswe's movie is also out. Yeah.
We have so much wealth, like our favorite Nigerian wife has said.
Yes.
We welcome our bronzes, really. Shall we take our final story now under entertainment? U.S. filmmaker and TV mogul Tyler Perry is facing a $260 million lawsuit from actor Derek Dixon, who accused the filmmaker of sexual assault and workplace retaliation while working on his shows, The Oval and Ruthless. Dixon filed the suit in Los Angeles, claiming Perry used his influence to create a coercive and exploitative environment. Dixon alleged that Perry made repeated unwanted sexual advances and threatened to kill off his character if he didn't comply. The lawsuit details one alleged incident of the set of The Oval, where Perry reportedly pinned Dixon to a wall in a trailer and touched him inappropriately after questioning his sexual interest. Dixon says he rejected the advance and later quit the show to avoid further harassment. Perry's lawyer has denied the claims, calling the suit a scam aimed at extortion. What did they call this thing when I saw it? They're trying to pull down black men. I mean, that's what a lot of people that love Tyler Perry are saying. But workplace harassment is a big deal. This case needs to be investigated. If this is the deal, then oh my goodness, not another black man. First, it was Sean Diddy Combs. Now we're seeing this sort of story coming from R. Kelly as well, and of course, Bill Cosby, who, I was just really, really mortified when some of those stories came out. But this young man, they've really attacked him online because obviously Tyler Perry has given so much back to the black community. So much. He has empowered a lot of actors, and, a lot of people are actually rooting for him, including 50 Cent. I don't know if you saw some of his comments. A real quick comment, Adefemi, before we wrap up.
I'll say that these allegations are serious, and they always should be condemned, because for me, that is one thing I cannot stand, is this type of sexual abuse.
Absolutely.
If it is true, he should be punished, and if it is not true, he should be be called for. But I do think that Tyler Perry himself has come from a lot of abuse. He talked about a lot of physical abuse he suffered from his father growing up. Not that is an excuse or an explanation, but it's quite unfortunate that this is happening.
Damning, really. Well, we'll follow up on the story as always. I'd love to thank you all for your great analysis as always on What's Trending. Rufy on fire. Welcome back.
Great.
Well, that's all I have for you guys on What's Trending today. I'll see you all tomorrow.